The Mac sucks now, and it's your fault. I'm Scott with Techno Eclipse. If you want to learn how it is your fault, stay tuned to the video. Real quick, if you want the best and most passionate tech commentary on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to check out the podcast, the Patreon. If you support it, you're supporting the channel, and all the other links down below. So, why does the Mac suck, and how is it your fault? Well, obviously it's not exactly your fault if you've never purchased a Mac new from Apple. But if you have in the last 5 years, 3 years, it is your fault. To start, let's go with the lowest hanging fruit with the keyboard problem on the MacBook Pros. Now, I began to think about this, and actually one of my most popular videos, and one of the videos that actually gave me a pretty big jump in subscribers when I first started making YouTube videos all the way back in February of 2018, was a video I made on why you should not buy the 2015 MacBook Pro, because it's stupid because you're paying a premium for older hardware, and the 2017 MacBook Pro was just better in terms of specs, in terms of price to performance, and just overall what I thought was a better experience. But then I began to think about it after getting yelled at in the comments, and I was like, well, no, I still think I'm right, because why are you buying a 2015 MacBook Pro for $2 grand when you could just buy the newest, latest, and greatest with way better hardware for what is essentially like $300-400 more? But then the keyboard issue really started hitting YouTube hard. And I thought to myself, this sucks, because, you know, it never affected me. It never directly affected me. I have never, ever owned one of those MacBook Pros with that keyboard issue, and I've never owned a 2016, 2017, or 2018. But my friend does. He just recently purchased a 2018 MacBook Pro locally off Craigslist. He got it for $1,600 thanks to my help and my advice. But then I really started thinking about it. I'm like, dude, I don't know if you should buy that. I don't know if you should buy that laptop, because that keyboard issue is huge. And here's why it's a big deal, because it affects everything. When using a computer, the most important thing, in my opinion, is the keyboard. Yeah, the mouse and the trackpad are probably equally as important, but in terms of the actual user experience, I would say the keyboard is, because if you have a faulty mouse, you can actually sort of get away with it by using the tab key on the keyboard and using different shortcuts to actually access different things. It would suck, but it's doable. If you just have the mouse working, you'd have to use like an on-screen keyboard, and in my opinion, that's a little bit more clunky. But I thought to myself, this is a bigger deal than I think I originally thought. Let's see what the problems are. Some of the problems are that the key will stick. So if you press the C key, it'll stick and occasionally just like re-click itself while you're using other keys. So for myself, I was like, how would this affect me? Well, typing stuff, obviously that would suck, but autocorrect and like the little red underline thing would probably correct most of those errors. But then I thought, if my C key or my V key while I was editing in Premiere Pro were to just get stuck occasionally, it would slow me down tremendously. Can you imagine if you were trying to grab a selection on the timeline when you hit the V key, but you had just hit the C key, and the C key clicks again after you hit the V key, and it stutters and does that, and then while you're trying to grab that stuff, you just cut the timeline, and instead now you got to go back, undo that cut, and then grab it again and move it over. While this might not seem like a big deal for like 1 time or 2 times, and it's not a big deal once or twice, but it is a big deal because it won't just happen once or twice. There are a bunch of videos about it happening consistently, caught on film. It doesn't look like these people are filming for hours and hours and hours trying to find the secret hidden techniques on how to get this to not work. It literally just doesn't work. It doesn't work consistently. And these are $2,400 to $6,000 computers. These are not just run-of-the-mill like, oh, a little Chromebook I bought for $200. Oh, the keyboard doesn't work, who cares? Put an external keyboard on it. This is a $2,400 to $6,000 computer, and that somebody will be buying not because they just want a nice computer. I would say 90% of the people buying these computers are running a business off of them. And to have the keyboard fail in critical conditions, in critical scenarios, is a huge problem, bigger than I originally thought. In my opinion, I thought the keyboard issue failing is like, oh, people just want to get upset about Apple because it's fun and it's easy to poke fun at Apple and to get a bunch of views on it. That's what I'm doing right now. No, but seriously, like, this is a big deal. I've been thinking about it harder and harder every single day, and this is a huge problem, because this isn't on a cheap little $200 device. If this was on a cheap little $200 device, you just buy a different cheap $200 device. That's it. But the thing is, with MacBooks and MacBook Pros, is when you are a professional or you are running a business or a company off of that computer, the keyboard is very, very important. And to have that fail constantly and consistently on par with the 2011 MacBook Pro GPU failure, where it's like, it's not one of those things where it might happen or it might not happen. It's more of a, when is it going to happen? That is a big problem. And the reason that this is your fault is because you keep buying them. You are the ones supporting this. And I want to blame you, but how can I not just blame Apple? Because some people just need these computers. They just need portable power with macOS. Maybe they bought the Final Cut Pro license and they don't want to buy Adobe Premiere, or they don't want to buy DaVinci Resolve, or let's say they have a bunch of other licenses on their macOS computer that they need to be able to bring around from place to place to place. For example, somebody who's like a video editor or a photo editor, or somebody who types articles for a living, and all of their like software that they use that on, or somebody who creates music or codes apps for the iPhone and the Apple App Store is going to need this portable power because let's say they need it for work or they go from place to place to place. Like, it's a big deal. The reason people buy a MacBook Pro is because they want portable power. They want that anywhere. This is a huge deal. And I'm blaming you because you keep buying them. They haven't even fixed it yet, and it has been a known problem since 2016. This is a known issue. This isn't something that just happened like 6 times and it's like, well, whatever. Like, there are some things that I think have happened like 6 times, like Stuttergate. It's like, on 5 people's iPhone XS Maxes, like something stutters for like a half a second and then it, just the phone keeps working normally. But this is a real problem. Keyboard gate. First of all, gate, that came from when Richard Nixon was spying on the Democrats at Watergate. It's not like the place was called Water and now it's a gate. It's like they pulled that last name from that. That's super annoying to me, and I don't like how everybody uses it like keyboard gate, Ben gate, this gate, that gate. Like, that's annoying to me. That's another topic for another day. Probably not on this channel because that is politically charged and we talk about tech here. But that is a huge deal, and it's your fault. You're buying these MacBook Pros. You're the one doing this. You're the one supporting this type of behavior from Apple. They're like, well, we could put a little membrane to make the keyboards a little bit quieter, but we're going to put the same butterfly switches in our 2018 MacBook Pros and our 2018 MacBook Airs. It's like they don't even care. They don't care about the problem at hand. It's not a big deal to them. They're like, well, whatever. I mean, it saves us a few bucks if we don't have to design an entirely new keyboarding type of butterfly switches. It's like, that is a total joke. They literally were just like, oh, okay, we want to make your This is exactly what they did. This is essentially what they did by putting that little plastic membrane around it. They're like, okay, we want people to have waterproof iPhones, but we don't want to pay for the waterproofing. So what we're going to do is include a plastic bag with every purchase of an iPhone. So when you want the iPhone to not get wet and take it into water, you can just put it in that plastic baggie and then you'll have waterproofing. That's essentially what the keyboard issue is. On my next issue, I have a few more. The iMac not getting updated. Okay, this is ridiculous. And I'm not talking about just the iMac, the 21.5 and the 5K 27-inch iMac. I'm talking about the iMac Pro. Why is it so hard for them to just update their computers? I've complained about this before, and I'll probably make a whole different video about this because I'm real heated right now. But like, why would they not think about, I don't know, constantly updating their computers, especially their desktops? They're okay with their laptops, but the MacBook hasn't been updated in forever. The MacBook Air was updated, but like every 2 years, and then it finally got updated last year, and it wasn't really an update. It was just looks better now. And do not even get me started on the Mac Pro from 2013, still $3,000. I'm rolling my eyes hard right now when you could buy a $200 i5-8400 that is a better performer in almost every regard than the Xeon processor inside of that 6-core Mac Pro for $3,000 with a couple jokes of GPUs inside of there. And the reason Apple can get away with that kind of stuff is because you keep buying it. I see people all the time on Craigslist, on Facebook, on OfferUp, on Letgo, on all of these different sites, on eBay. I bought this in 2018, I'm selling. I bought this in 2018, I'm selling. It's like these iMacs that they're buying in 2018 for like an absurd amount of money is not worth it. And I think the reason Apple hasn't updated it is because if they put the 9th gen, like an i9 9900K, first of all, they would charge $4,000 for that computer. And second of all, it would be much more powerful than the Xeon processor inside of the 8-core and possibly more powerful than the 10-core processor inside of the iMac Pro. I can almost guarantee it would be, especially on the video editing side due to QuickSync. Next is every Mac computer thermal throttles like crazy, or is downclocked. I've talked about this before on why I hate Apple, the video that I was saying what makes me so mad about Apple, but this is a big deal because you're selling people this performance, but you can only deliver this performance, and you're charging them a price that's like all the way up here when you really should be charging them a price that's all the way down there. So that really bothers me, but people are still buying it. People are still supporting this behavior. They're like, well, it's smaller, so I'm gonna buy it. It's like, dude, stop it and don't buy Macs. I love macOS. Don't not buy Macs. Okay, seriously, don't not buy Macs. Don't take this that way. But when you purchase from Apple and you support this kind of behavior, Apple has no reason to change. Do whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, how not to spend your money. I'm going to give my opinions on it, but at the end of the day, you're the one making the purchase and you're the one making the decision. But in my opinion, purchasing a new Mac in 2019 is one of the worst decisions that you could make for your money, monetarily, fiscally, I don't even know, for your bank account. It just doesn't make any sense because you're risking too much. Apple dropped support for fixing these huge mistakes. Like, remember the glossy display on like the 2013, 2014 MacBook Pros, how that would peel? Yeah, those are only like 5-6-year-old computers now at this point. And Apple dropped support for that like a long time ago. So these keyboard issues on the 2016, I mean, you're getting to the point where I wouldn't be surprised if Apple's like, we're only servicing 2017, 2018, 2019 MacBook Pros in like 2020. So just be careful, be wary when you purchase a Mac from Apple because they have good customer support, but they also drop support for products probably a little bit earlier than they should. Okay, I'm done. It's your fault. Apple makes terrible computers now, and you're the reason why. Sorry, but it's your fault. I'm Scott with Techno Eclipse. If you like the video, hit subscribe, hit like, hit dislike if you disagree with me, which I'm sure there will be a couple of people doing that, and leave me a really mean comment, or if you support me, the people that leave me comments, comment on their comments and just pick fights because I always enjoy that. I love reading comments. All right, thanks again for watching. And remember, don't forget to check out the podcast. The next episode will be dropping tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. But if you want to get next week's podcast, episode 3, you could pay me $5 or $10 on Patreon to get a couple nice little perks. And you support the channel, you support this whole giant thing known as Techno Eclipse. So thanks again for watching. I'm Scott with Techno Eclipse. I've said Techno Eclipse like 25 Techno Eclipsing times. All right, see ya. Peace out.